Hi there, hope you're having a pleasant day wherever you may be. Today I found myself trying to get to a baseball game, but I think I'm about 66 years too late. That's right, I'm at the former site of Ebbets Field in Brooklyn, New York. The former site of Ebbets Field is located at the corner of McKeever and Sullivan in the borough of Brooklyn, New York. From 1913 to 1957, the Brooklyn Dodgers called that plot of land behind me home. That is the location of where Ebbets Field used to be. Nearby Washington Park, where they used to play, was proving to be too inadequate, so the team bought up plots of land and built Ebbets Field here on this site. It was a much larger park and at the time was considered very modern and up to date. So just for a little perspective, with Ebbets being built in 1913, let's say somewhere in the multiverse, the Dodgers never left Brooklyn and they never left Ebbets Field. Fenway was built in 1912, which is the current oldest in the league. Wrigley, which is the second oldest, was built in 1914. And in that little middle there, 1913 was Ebbets, just to give you some perspective of what the architecture, what the styles, things like that would have been like for Ebbets Field. The primary tenant of Ebbets Field was obviously the Dodgers, and they spent 45 seasons there from 1913 to 1957. During that time, they won several National League pennants. They hosted several World Series. Now, all those achievements and events that happened here probably pale in comparison to the biggest event, which was in April 15th, 1947. Jackie Robinson suited up for the Brooklyn Dodgers for the first time in an official game, thus breaking the color barrier in Major League Baseball. It was a watershed moment for not only the league, but the country in general. So, amazing moment that happened just right here at Ebbets Field. Jackie Robinson, of course, went on to have a very illustrious career, both in the Negro Leagues and the Major Leagues, which was only about 10 years or so. But he batted over 300 lifetime. He won Rookie of the Year. He led the team to several World Series, including the one in 1955, which unfortunately, the only one they won, they clinched it at Yankee Stadium across town. So I'm at the corner of McKeever and Sullivan, and what would have been that very iconic outside facade of Ebbets Field from 1913 till 1960. By the 1950s, Ebbets Field was starting to show its limitations. It only seated about 35,000. It didn't have much room for parking for the growing love affair with automobiles that America was having. So Walter O'Malley proposed moving the stadium to a different area in Brooklyn. Walter O'Malley, the owner of the Dodgers, was something of a visionary, and he actually found a plot of land not too far from here that would have met his needs to build the first dome stadium in Major League Baseball. It would have predated the Astrodome. Unfortunately, the powers that be nixed that idea and instead offered him a nice plot of land in nearby Queens, to which he replied, "No, we're not the Queens Dodgers, we're the Brooklyn Dodgers," and he continued his search. Now, somewhat tragically for Brooklyn, but very good for the West Coast, led by a young councilwoman named Roz Wyman, the powers that be in Los Angeles were able to convince Walter O'Malley to move the team out west. And thus, the Los Angeles Dodgers were born. The conclusion of the 1957 season was the last for the Dodgers at Ebbets Field and in Brooklyn, as the team moved for the 1958 season. Over the years, Ebbets Field had some other tenants too, like some football teams and things like that, and it sort of languished with little minor events here and there until 1960, when it finally succumbed to the wrecking ball. In its place, they built the Ebbets Field Apartments, which is obviously a very large apartment complex that sits on the former site of Ebbets Field, aptly named. Aside from naming the apartments after the defunct baseball field, they also placed that really cool plaque of where home plate used to be, and they marked it as where Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. However, I guess if we want to get technical, he broke it standing at first base, because it would have been the home team and that's where he was playing. I don't know. I guess that's technically where he did. But either way, that's where home plate used to be for Ebbets Field. Now, as far as visiting the little plaque for home plate, it's about a 10-minute walk from a couple different subway stations in the neighborhood of Brooklyn, near what is known as Flatbush, from what I understand. And like I said, it's on the complex for the apartment building. So it's a little weird because you're kind of walking up the walkway to go into the building. So yeah, I mean, it's cool. I mean, I think they're just used to people going to it, but it is a little strange. You're just like kind of wandering into an apartment complex. I mean, it's not far from the sidewalk, but still, it's a little weird. And then across the street is the Ebbets Field Middle School, which also says Jackie Robinson School on it. So I'm not sure which name it is, but there's also the Jackie Robinson Playground, which is just across the street as well. So there's a couple different ways that they do immortalize both Jackie Robinson and Ebbets Field in the neighborhood here, which is kind of cool. Now, unfortunately, there really isn't anything remaining of Ebbets Field here at the site. Now, what's actually pretty cool is that there is one official relic remaining of Ebbets Field to be found in Brooklyn, and that is the former center field flagpole. It stands outside of the Barclays Center, which is the home of the Brooklyn Nets. After Ebbets Field, the flagpole was given to a local VFW in Brooklyn, and it stood outside that building ever since. Now, around the time that the Nets were making their move to Brooklyn, the powers that be secured possession of the flagpole, and shortly before the opening of Barclays Center, they unveiled it to honor the history of professional sports in Brooklyn, because the Nets were the first professional team to play in Brooklyn since the departure of the Dodgers back in 1957. How freaking cool is that? A living relic of former Ebbets Field. Well, that does it for this one. Thanks for joining me on this trip to visit the former site of Ebbets Field, home of the Brooklyn Dodgers from 1913 to 1957. I know there wasn't a whole lot to look at other than an apartment complex and a small plaque, but I thought it was interesting and it felt worthy of visiting as a Dodger fan. So hope you found it interesting, hope you found it informative, and if you happen to be in the neighborhood, I hope you come and check it out. With that said, I guess I'll see you on the next one. Also, if you happen to go to a Mets game, the rotunda and outside facade, it's all very reminiscent of Ebbets Field, which is really cool because it has that iconic exterior. And actually, in general, when you go to Citi Field, they're sort of like a mini shrine to the Dodgers. It's kind of cool that, you know, they have this like embedded in an opposing team's stadium. So that's kind of neat to see stuff about Jackie Robinson and all that. Like I said, the outside facade, it's like cool.